What's going on, guys? This is Kaishra. Welcome back. So we are back with another video. So for our video today, we are going to cover OCG Metagame tier list post Doom of Dimensions or post DOOD that was released to us a few weeks ago, and it is gradually making an impact on our metagame because the set that we are hoping for to shake things up in our metagame. It was able to support older archetypes like DDD, and it was able to bring new lore archetypes like the Doomsday, and also it is a set that supports the Justice Hunters archetypes, which is already some of the best decks right now. No, so we have a new shake up in this metagame, and we are going to discuss each tiers here from S, A, B, C, and D tiers, and we are going to cover each deck and justify why they are here on this tier list. So moving on towards the first tier, we do have D tier. First off the bat, we do have Labyrinth. So Labyrinth has been around since 2022, and I do believe that Labyrinth has been a stalemate as one of the perennial contenders of being a tier 3, tier 4 type of deck now, which is able to withhold the shifts, the trends of metagame, mainly to the fact that Labyrinth was able to cater their whole main deck according to the metagame that is happening on the format. You're able to play more trap cards like the Ruma Cannon, Torrential Tribute, compulsory, and you're able to play floodgates when necessary, goes in match, rivalry, and things like the skill drain, no, and forcing stone. And also you can play more hand traps on the deck like Maxi, Nibiru. So the deck is very versatile. You're able to bring the best out of the deck by exploring so many things on the main deck, being able to fit your side and main deck according to the metagame environment that you're playing, and of course to answer the best performing decks on the metagame. So it is like the antithesis of the meta right now. It is the modern meta beat or the anti-meta deck now, which is able to do so much damage in the format, mainly because of the iterations that you can play around on the deck to control the match. Next, we do have Tenpai Dragon. So another deck that is holding their fort from the past 9 months or 12 months or so, no? Even though Tenpai Dragon has been one of the top decks from the past formats now, it is able to survive the metagame with such significant hits on the deck. We do have the Chundra going into one, no, which is very huge on Tenpai Dragon. But it was able to do so because it is a going second deck. You're able to play the necessary board breakers or hand traps like Mulcharmies and of course Maxi, and you're able to do so much things in one turn. You are able to OTK the opponent without any problems. You have like 20 million damage on the opponents, and I think you're able to play the deck as well, depending on the metagame that are shaping. Sometimes you can play more spells to cater like the Sky Striker Tenpai Dragon. Sometimes you can play more hand traps, and sometimes you can play more board breakers just to have a blowout option on the metagame. So all in all, I think it's still very safe to play Tenpai Dragon, but it's not on the same manner as it used to be. I think it doesn't have the capacity to dominate the games, but it's still very potent and can be very unpredictable right now. Next ito, Branded. So Branded has been garnering supports over the course of years, no? We didn't really expect that it is still going to get more new supports from the Dogmatica side of things, and of course they have an anime right now, airing anime at that, no? So expect that the lore will be supported, and it is very favorable because Branded has been a very popular archetype, no? Not only the Albaz Dogmatica storyline, Tri Brigade Sword Soul, and other sprite stuff on the archetype or the lore itself is also popular. So I think the Branded is a very good investment. Moving forward, it seems like this is the more favored lore because Tearlaments saga, the Kashtira saga, and the White Forest saga has been another type of archetype decks that is lore oriented, but they didn't get the love that the Branded had for the past couple of years. So I think Branded is still a deck that should be invested, and on top of that, it is a very malleable deck. You can play Shadal, Dracottail, Tearlaments, and other fusion-oriented archetypes on the deck, and literally one fusion archetype that can supplement the Branded. It will definitely break the Branded once again, and we never know. We are getting more new supports for Branded, and of course we are going to have a new structure deck for branded as well this coming year or late 2025, I believe. So yeah, I think there's a plethora of ways to explore branded right now, and is definitely a deck that is performing on Taiwan and China, and also some parts of Japan. No, so yeah, very solid deck right now. Next we have Archmage. So a lot of people would expect me to put Archmage higher on this list just because I play the deck and I know how the deck works, and I have also have a fair share amount of success on the deck. But I don't really want to hyperbole things for Archmage. I do think that the deck is really solid, very good, and can bring unpredictability on the deck. Being able to play going second cards on the main deck, which is a very huge surplus in this modern game. But all in all, I think Archmage still lacks some kind of support that is going to make their going first stronger, and will make the deck much more coherent on consistency levels of the upper top tier decks here. So I think it lacks something, and it's still not solved yet because obviously the supports from DOOD are very underwhelming, and also the Doomsday does not really help the Archmage as a whole unless you mix the two. So I think let's put the Archmage on pedestal right now. I think it's still going to get better with the right supports in the future, but don't hype things up for Archmage because the deck is good, but it's not enough to be higher than D tier here. And yeah, believe me when I say that because I have been playing the deck for far too long. Ever since the first day of Archmage, I have been already playing the deck, and I think Archmage has a potential to be higher than this, but yeah, things are very early to put Archmage on the top of this tier list. Instead of Doomsday, so it's funny that Doomsday outperforms Archmage, the original archetype of the lore, no? But Doomsday has been getting more traction and numbers recently above Archmage, and Doomsday has been a deck that is unexplored yet. A lot of people doesn't know how to uh, use the Doomsday properly because of the intangibles that the deck can offer. Sometimes you can play it with equip-based mechanical type of build. Sometimes you can play it with engines, Finsmith, and other stuff. And also Doomsday can be played as well as a pure, which I think is the best version right now, is the pure variant. And I think Doomsday has a lot of things to offer moving forward. Is like it's molding to be like a modern cash type of deck, no? So I think on the right supports, it will definitely make Doomsday as one of the best decks in this metagame. And like Archmage is still very early to conclude what is the future of the deck. And right now, let's just hope for the best potential out of these two. And Doomsday as well can be quite fluid on playing more hand traps than the usual Archmage. And Doomsday also has a way to make boards effectively going first. And I think the deck is like a modern mid-range deck that is going to suit so many hand traps, 15, 18 hand traps on the deck, and some consistency cards like talent, pots, and call it a day. I think a very generic type of deck building, but very effective at that. No, when used properly. Moving on towards the city, we do have the uh, new supported Sulfacord archetype, which is a pendulum-based deck. And if you know me, guys, I don't really fancy playing pendulum decks, but from the moment that I have observed the advanced format results of the Sulfacord from the first week of the DOOD uh, announcements, no, it was able to do so much on the advanced format tournaments, and it didn't surprise me that Sulfacord has been getting numbers right now, and I do believe that it will be still going higher, and the deck is really well made. No, it is able to play through interruptions. It is a deck that can bring out a good amount of interruptions or negations going first. And the deck is pretty hard to hand trap, no? I can really tell that there's a lot of intricacies that you can play around using the Sulfacord, and paired with K9, it was able to answer the weaknesses of the deck. It was able to interact with some hand traps. You're able to trade card for card using the Izuna, the Yokul, and of course the Lupus, which is insanely strong on this type of deck. And of course, the Sulfur can be played on other pendulum decks as well, like Penmagi, Z-Arc, no, Zephyra, and other pendulum type of decks that can make this deck function. as a pendulum pseudo starter type of engine. And next you have K9, the pure version itself. So they have gotten Noroi, which is another solid summon for the deck. I think they would more likely be more open to play more hand traps and breakers on the main deck, like Droplet Eclipse. And I think the Emulnier package is also doing such wonderful things for the deck. And of course, the K9 Pure has disadvantages because you don't have the secondary engine to complement the deck. But I think you have the best flexibility on the main deck because even though the main deck can be rough sometimes, I think you have more rooms for non-engines and flex spots on the main deck rather than the usual duo archetype of K9 like Cyber Dragon and Orcus, for example. No, so I think the deck is much more malleable into siding patterns, and of course K9 has its merits. No, you're able to play the Valon, the Reaper, and the other XYZ toolbox on this deck, which is really strong going first. Next is the Cyber Dragon K9. So Cyber Dragon K9, arguably the best going second deck that can destroy Ravish boards going second using the K9 itself. No, so I think Cyber Dragon brings an element which Tenpai Dragon can offer for the K9, and Cyber Dragon as a whole is a very consistent one card combo starter deck, and you have a lot of really solid cards, profound cards that can interrupt the metagame like the Clockwork Knight, and Cyber Dragon as a whole is going to be another contender for a format or two. I think it's able to maintain the position of a tier C, tier 4 deck right now because the amount of unpredictability that this deck can bring into the table is top notch as well. Being able to go second confidently and, of course, build strong boards going first with the Nova and Infinity. And next, we have Sky Striker. So Sky Striker as a deck is a very weird thing to analyze because I think Sky Striker as a deck cannot be defined by normal ways of understanding the deck because we cannot really undermine the potential of Sky Striker being a deck that correlates towards the level of the pilot that are playing this deck. I think, yeah, it's really hard. I think this is probably the hardest thing to calculate because Sky Striker really depends on the level of the pilot. And the results from regions and minor regions can oversaturate the Sky Striker representations because I think on the top tier regions, Japan, South Korea, China, and Taiwan, they are able to bring out the best of Sky Striker. But it just takes a really skilled pilot, a really oiled machine to play the deck. And it is very difficult because there are a handful of players that can only do that each country. So yeah, it's really hard to navigate the Sky Striker plays here. But all in all, Sky Striker has deep bags of potential because the deck is like a toolbox deck. It's not a deck that is going to have a linear way of playing. Even though it is much more linear now with the zero now, but it's still very wide to comprehend on regular basis. I think you have a lot of ways to interact with the opponent. You have ways to hand trap the opponent using the ogres, the bells, and the nibs, and still you're able to do so much damage going second with the Macharmis and the breakers like Droplet and Eclipse on the main deck. And on top of that, you have the new Magnetic Storming cards, which is able to boost the quick play shenanigans of Sky Striker, leveling up the consistency of Sky Striker, and of course, making plays for the quick play uh, interactions of Sky Striker, and of course, both bolstering the spell count on your graveyard, which is a huge plus for Sky Striker. Moving on towards the B tier, we do have Malice. So I cannot really lie to you guys. I didn't expect that Malice would be this good, still this good, even after the nerfs that they have gotten so far over the months. And I think it boils down towards the explosiveness of Malice going first. It's just so obnoxious, no? Even though Malice has been heavily nerfed, it's still one of the decks that can bring out really crazy amounts of end board product. And even though losing Appaloosa was a major hit, you're still able to play through many hand traps. You have turn zero plays, you have more hand traps on the deck now, and you still have some tool of consistency with the Cybers engines. So yeah, it's still very competent, but not on the same degree, not on the same breadth that they are doing before. But yeah, still pretty solid, no, considering that was able to hold on the B tier like Risil here. So yeah, definitely a huge archetype, and I think it will give results towards the players that have been playing the deck for that long already. Instead of Crystron K9, arguably the deck that can play through the whole exact lineup of hand traps right now. The Sulfad Hole, the Smiger, and the intricacies of the Crystron itself has been very good on slithering past towards those hand traps and interruptions right now. You have layers of interactions and playthrough on the deck, and you're able to bring so much interruptions going first. And the only problem would be your deck is really tight. No, I think you have less rooms for non-engines and some tech cards. But all in all, I think you have the whole package of Crystron, very solid archetype. Now, by just looking at the card effects of Crystron, you would already know that this is a very functional deck. Even without K9, it's still a deck that should be respected with. But with K9, it's just a different beast. No, you're able to play the Yokul and the Izuna, which are also terrifying monsters once they resolve on this kind of deck. Instead of DDD, so far, pretty mixed reactions for this deck. I mean, the first week is pretty underwhelming. Oh, the first 2 days are pretty okay. They have gotten results, but the following days, the third, fourth, fifth days, 6 days, 7 days, it wasn't able to do much. But on the second week, it was able to bring so many results once again, no? So yeah, it's pretty divided into such subplots because DDD has been a deck that is uh looking looking to be a deck that is a new combo deck, but still uh have some room for like 9. Yeah, 9 to 15 non-engines on the deck. So it's pretty decent considering that it is a combo deck. But it just heavily struggles against the Maxi and Mulcharmis. And on top of that, you can get Drolled or Nib on some point and occasions. So yeah, it's pretty vulnerable on the popular hand traps, but once it resolves and makes a really profound board, I think you're able to dominate games without any problems. And of course, DDD as a deck is very difficult to pilot. Another deck that is really hard to pilot is Sky Striker, and after that it would be the DDD because DDD is very complex. No, there's a distinct way of playing the deck. There are linear combos, but it's going to be very complex once you explore the tendencies and other cards that you may explore on the deck. And yeah, it's not a one-way type of deck. It doesn't have one-way ticket on it. It's just going to be absurd on playing through hand traps and also going rounds and rounds, no, of their combos to play around certain things. So yeah, very solid deck right now and arguably going to be better moving forward. Instead of Risil, so Risil Onomats or Risil Sharks or pure Risils with Spirit, no, was able to do so much as a pure deck from before, but now they really need some type of support from the Onomats because obviously Risil has been heavily gutted from the Malice from before. So I think Risil as a deck right now is very stable. I think if you want to have stability on the metagame, you would opt for the Risil after the Yami. I think this is the second best option to play. Very easy to pilot. I just need to understand when to uh, use the detonator effectively. And of course, you need to understand how to use the Onomats package into full ability. And I think as a deck, Ryzeal is very fair on things that they don't really go overboard, like consistency levels. And of course, they have been nerfed with such lengths as well. The Tachyon, the Bonfire from before. And I think it's a very fair archetype right now. But yeah, it's still very unclear because we're still going to have Mitsurugi this coming September from the WPP 2025, and it will definitely boost the Ryzeal into higher note as well, no? And next is the Orcus. So Orcus is the surprise of this Dude format, and even the weeks before Dude, he was able to do a lot of things on the metagame. They have been playing Horus engines, they're playing K9, they're playing Pure, they're playing Azamina. There's a bunch of ways to play Orcus right now. But obviously, the most performing one would be the Horus with Shining Sarcophagus package because you have Dragoon on the board, no? Which is a huge monster for Orcus, and of course, the Horus being able to turbo out rank 8 and of course discard cards on your hand to pop their effects on the graveyard, which is really phenomenal on Orcus. But the thing with Orcus is the resiliency of Orcus is unmatched. I do believe that resiliency wise, Orcus has so many layers, and if the right pilot plays the deck really well, I think it will be able to even defeat the best decks here. The uh, Yami and the VSK9, I think Orcus is that deck that can bring so much untapped potential in this format. And of course, I have known so many great Orcus pilots, and they are not giving up on the deck. No, even though the deck used to be a top tier contender last January after the Trinity pack, rather the last set from December, the support for Orcus, no? It used to be a tier 1 deck from that set along with Blue Eyes Primate, but it got lower and lower, and Blue Eyes Primate is not even here, no? So it speaks volume on how the metagame evolved already from the past 7 months or 8 months or so, no? So I think Orcus is a deck that is going to linger in this metagame just because the deck is able to float on so many interruptions. You have the graveyard, you have ways to banish, you have ways to dump cards, you have ways to negate, and you have ways to send cards. You are at the total package of being a modern deck right now, and I think Orcus is just the modern version of Tri Brigade right now, just layers of interruptions, and of course the ability to float and have recursions all over the place. Next we have Lunalite. So Lunalite is just, of course, going to turbo out the Baguska, the Liger Dancer, and those two are just menace right now. If you don't have outs towards this deck, I think you're going to get pretty screwed. And I have also faced a plenty amount of Lunalite already, and sometimes they just win out of the blue. You don't have a team interact with their board or the Liger Dancer, and of course the Lunalite would be able to OTK the game later on because they have so many high attack monsters. They can pretty much wipe the board at ease. And on top of that, the Lunalite has barrage of hand traps, Impulse, and Flawless, and Droll, and Nibiru, and the usual Ash, Standard, Maxi, and Imperm, no? So this is the epitome of a good mid-range deck right now. You're able to fit in on so many hand traps. You're able to do some towers on the board. You're able to do some negations and interruptions from the Baguska and the IP Mascarena going to Little Knight or the Gorgon. So I think a very flexible deck right now would be Lunalite. And if you're looking for a deck that should be played and warrants a success right now, I think you would go for Lunalite. And there's a chance that Lunalite can survive the Malice this coming September. Yeah, we cannot really tell what is going to happen for Lunalite. But all in all, I think Lunalite, with the absurdity of Fractal and Tenki, it is able to do so many consistent things on the field. Next we have Dracottail. So right now, I can probably confidently say that Dracottail is the most underrated deck in the whole OCG and even TCG side of things. It's the deck that people count out because a lot of people have been fancying the K9. Of course, Yami is just arguably the more consistent deck out of the JH decks, no? But Dracottail as a deck is very strong. I think if you should invest some good amount of time on understanding the deck and playing the deck, I think it will be even better than Yami because the Dracotail as a deck can play the fraction of elements saga from before and is very similar towards the interactions of the elements. They can rely on traps from the Sulek, from the Cry from before, and now you have the Flame and the other traps na, and now you have a new trap card as well that is also even played on the deck. And Fimena is just absurd. Turn 0, Havnis, and of course, the amounts of layers of Altarion and Grammel on the board, even though you don't really make anything on going first, you're able to interact really good. And of course, the negate, the bounce, the spin, the interactions from the Dracottail is able to do so much damage and can be pretty hard to play against because I think those type of interactions can be pretty unpredictable and sometimes can really spell the end of some decks here, like for example the Sky Striker, no, or Malice. So I think the Dracottail is a deck that should be studied really hard before you even consider playing it. You should try to mix engines on the deck. Try to find out which engine works the best for you, even though it's Magistus right now and K9. I think you have ways to play Branded and Dragon Maid and uh, stuff like the Lunite on the deck, no? And of course, Dracottail can be played as pure as well. And I think the pure version warrants the best amount of stability right now. It is a very safe deck to play, and you have like 25 26 hand traps on the deck, and you're just going to capitalize on that from the Frixel, one of Frixel, and the one of the new trap card. No, you're able to do so much things on Dracottail, and you just need to slap in some consistency cards. Prospe, there are crazy people that are playing extravagance here, and yeah, I think very stable deck right now. You're able to do so many things on Dracottail. Next ito, VSK9. I think it's between the two, Yami or VSK9. It's just the top two right now. Some regions play Yami more effectively. Some regions play more VSK9. But it doesn't matter right now. I think there are they are very interchangeable on a lot of degree. And right now, VSK9 is just lagging behind because Yami is much more played. It is much more easy. It is much more affordable. And it is much more popular due to the art style of the deck. No, it's very cute aesthetically. But VSK9 on the other hand is a deck that should be played with maximum amount of efficiency and efficacy on utilizing the both K9 and Vanquishol cards. I think I have said this before from my previous videos that this deck is not a deck that can be played without much thought process. It's not an autopilot deck, and I think it's a very good thing for Vanquishol and K9 right now. It really depends on the decision making of the pilot, knowing when to use the Ash Blossoms on the hand, no? Or when to use the other hand traps like Phantasme and the Nibiru and other reveal targets for the Bankushul itself. So yeah, it really boils down on the amount of decision making, understanding the matchup, and some part of luck, no? Because it doesn't matter whether you are the best pilot of Vanquishol on Earth. If you don't have the correct attributes to reveal and you don't have the correct cards to start your plays, it can be pretty dull, and that's the biggest factor on why Vanquishol is lagging behind because it's not on the same consistency level as Yami, and sometimes there are games that you don't really do much, and your deck just loses on itself by own. So yeah, it's pretty hard to navigate that emotion, but I think it's the reality of Vanquishol as an archetype, and that's why K9 is very popular on the deck because K9 is able to solve issues for the ordinary Vanquishol archetype as a whole, and you have Izuna and Jokul to do so many plays on you, and having an established Reaper on the board is layers and layers of interaction and ability to search from the Reaper, no? So I think this is a very solid archetype right now and a very profound deck, but I think the amount of risk can be mitigated if you are going to tailor your deck depending on the environment that you're playing. Some Vanquishol tends to play more Huntrops on the deck, some Vanquishol plays more Dogoran and Kurikara, and some Vanquishol also plays some consistency cards on the deck. And I think that's the whole aspect of learning the Vanquishol right now, being able to adapt the deck towards the environment that you're going to play on your region or your locals, no? So I think it's pretty hard to circumvent all of those things all at once. But I think if you have found the right amount of uh, deck building thought process and practice towards the deck, I think you're going to have so many good results on the Vanquishol K9. Next, we have Yami. So Yami gotten support from the DOOD as well, Marshmallow, and the new continuous spell, which is not even played right now. But yeah, the Marshmallow adds so many dimensions for Yami, but I think it doesn't means that the deck is broken right now, because Marshmallow is a card that supplemented the deck on capitalizing on the already consistent nature of the Yami itself, and Marshmallow was able to bring another level of that. But Marshmallow is not a card that broke the Yami. The thing that broke Yami is the consistency levels that it has to offer right now. And even though the deck does not really build the unbreakable boards, I think by just looking on consistency on it, I think it was able to be the best deck on this format. And that's what matters the most now when you go out towards that prolonged tournaments, big events, you're able to bank on the consistency of your deck. Because the more consistent your deck can be, even though it's not going to do ridiculous amount of things, no? As long as you're consistent, you're going to get results. Because that's the number one element of the competitive game, no? The meta game. The more consistent that your deck can be, the more that you can play. And the more that you can play, the more that you are going to have less mistakes or less unfavorable situations. So I think that's the biggest asset of Yami right now. The consistency is unparalleled. And of course, as a mid-range deck is also a favorable thing in OCG, being a mid-range deck. And also, the amount of fan traps that the Yami can play in this meta game can most likely answer the tier 4, tier D decks, no? And some tech options like the Droplet, Eclipse, and stuff like the Judgment on the main deck, which are also nice niche options. And of course, sometimes you can play Yami with uh, staples on the side deck that can literally destroy the metagame. You can play Gozen, Rivalry, and other floodgates like Forcing Stone. And yeah, I think you're able to do a lot of things from the post-side decking turns of Yami. And that's the biggest alternative that you can play on the Yami, no? You don't even have to play the Adventure, the K9 on the deck, no? By just having a huge amount plethora of options on your side deck is able to do a lot of things already for your Yami to be supplemented with those staples and non-engine cards. So yeah, I think Yami is the best deck right now by just a small fraction of margin. It's not a fault of Yami being better. Arguably, VSK9 has better endboard outlets, but it just boils down on the VSK9 gets much more brickier on some situations, and Yami is just a whole new level of consistency right now. So yeah, that sums up our OCG Metagame tier list for post DOOD or Doom of Dimensions format. So if you found this video informative or helpful, please do consider subscribing. It definitely motivates me a lot to keep providing this content for you guys. So once again, thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.